What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys. Well, we have cards, specifically the reward cards for Chaos Legion, once again trading at, or actually more importantly, below their burn value, which is quite significant. And I'll get into that in a moment, why I think it is and what the implications are for the game economy. But just to give a quick show here, you know, this is probably going to be most evident in the epics and legendaries, maybe rare, but let's go down here and see. So for example, all right, these are, it doesn't go to another decimal place, so it's probably just rounding up to 0.02, and you can see the power is 20, which is 20 DEC. So let's actually go over to the epics, and you'll see, for example, just right here, Jin Chihuahua is trading, or at least for sale right now, for 9 cents. And if you check out the power on Jin Chihuahua, it's 100, right? So with DEC at peg, 100 DEC would be roughly 10 cents. So you can see that there's that delta there. Now, where this gets really interesting is, let me go over to the legendary, because the legendary cards actually have a significant opportunity, if you want to call it that. Again, none of this is financial advice, but just pointing out where we're at with these card values. So for example, right, the Jin Biljka, this one is 500 power. All Chaos Legion legendary cards are 500 power, meaning that at peg, with DEC at peg, you get 500 DEC, that's roughly 50 cents. So at this time, they're trading for a 10% discount from that, right? 45 cents. Now, keep in mind, DEC is down 20% from its peg value. So there has to be this belief that DEC will eventually make its way back to peg or close to peg. But this is where it actually gets maybe enticing for some folks. So check this out. When you max the card, there is still that 5% bonus, right? So 11 BCX to max the card, 500 times 11 is 5,500 power, but you're seeing that there's an additional 275 power being given to a max copy card. Now that card is selling per BCX at 0.46, right? So less than the 500 power. And if you were to buy it right off the market today, for example, this is $5, right? So if you were to spend $5 today, you would get a max copy of this card with a power of 5775. And from there, if you were to sell, or sorry, let me put it this way. Let's say DEC were to go back to peg. You wouldn't even need to find a buyer for the card. You wouldn't have to sell it. You wouldn't even have to play around in the market. You could actually just burn this card for DEC, 57.75, and that would give you roughly $5.77.5 for the card, right? And you'd be able to receive that value in DEC, right? And again, that's assuming DEC is at or very, very close to peg. So, you know, it's a modest gain. It's not even 20% in terms of the return, but, you know, you'd be able to rent out the card. I don't know how much for, but let's see, max cards are going for not even 5 DEC, half a DEC a day. So yeah, the ROI on that from a daily returns perspective is not going to be fantastic, although you would be able to get something. And then of course, you know, be able to burn this as we got back up to peg. So that is the opportunity that exists here, and I wonder how many people are taking advantage of it. Now, what is the reason for this? Well, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of large maybe farm or bot farm accounts that are selling. You can see it's probably a lot of, I mean, it's even accounts that I recognize here that are maybe just trying to offload the cards that they have for whatever they can get. Maybe they're exiting the game, maybe they're not, maybe they're buying SPS, who knows what it is. But, you know, at this point, people are just trying to get rid of whatever cards they have. Now, what are the implications for this in the long run? Like I said, it does create some opportunity for people who believe maybe not in the cards, right, in the cards themselves, but in DEC. And you know that in order for, you know, this economy to really work, we need to get the flywheel going, which means we need to get DEC, or the supply of DEC constricted once again, that it gets close enough to or even above peg that we start burning SPS for it. And so, you know, like I said, there might be some people out there that decide to take advantage. Like you can even come up, let's see, Jin O'Shaughnessy, there's a bunch of these, right? So, oh, look at that. You're able to get some for 44 cents per BCX. So there may be folks that are out there trying to take advantage of that, maybe just throwing them on land for right now or whatever the case is. But in the long run, speaking of land, in the long run, I do expect most of these cards to be able to, or to make it onto land, right? They're just the cheapest cards that are available. And as other aspects of land do come online, my guess is that it's going to be the reward cards that fill that, right? Reward cards first, and then of course you'll have the Chaos Legion core set, which isn't quite as cheap, we'll call it, mainly because it's not as overprinted as Chaos Legion is. It is nothing compared to the Chaos Legion rewards. So you can just see here, for example, there's like what is it? And we've already burned tons of cards, right? 1.4 million Pelacor Conjurers. I think there were 8 million BCX printed. And you can see like there's 1/7 of that in terms of like a Chaos Knight, right? So again, this is all going to be, it's a weird time, although I will say it's an opportune time for people who take advantage of this. Now, I did take advantage of this about 18-ish months ago when we knew that Soulbound reward cards were coming, and it was a rough time. It was actually right after the first round of layoffs, right? November of 2020 into December, 2022 into December, and then January. I didn't go crazy. It's not like I made a ton of money, but I saw the power of that, right? DEC was well below peg. You had these cards trading below peg, and I just decided to scoop up a bunch of them, right? I decided to scoop up a bunch of them, and once we got back to peg, I tried to sell them on the market. If they didn't sell or they didn't move quickly, then I would just burn them and take that DEC and run, right? And at that time, I was trying to collect some DEC for land, which launched a couple of months later. So, am I doing that strategy now? No, I'm not, right? Although I just wanted to say that I have done the strategy in the past. It does work. Again, none of this is financial advice. I'm just trying to share with you what some of the folks out there are trying to do with their own, with the opportunities that exist in the ecosystem. And every time this has happened, right? And it's happened with me once, but we've heard about it multiple times before, right? With Untamed, with Beta. So every time that this has happened before, you had a lot of people that made out pretty well because they were able to take advantage of that. Now, here's the thing. You're going to get rich off this? I don't know. Probably not, right? And again, it depends on like what kind of capital you have to put in, what kind of deals you're able to get, and then what you ultimately end up doing, right? If we get to a point where people come in and they actually want those maxed out Jin build chests, well, you might be able to sell them for more than $5.77, right? So, but again, you're kind of taking a bet on that. Where I like to take the bet on, and again, I'm not doing this, but I'm just saying hypothetically, where I like to take the bet on, especially with those legendary cards, is specifically the DEC push, right? Because I know that the team, the DAO, the community, we are all wanting and trying to get DEC back up to peg. And so therefore, that represents an interesting opportunity here, right? Maybe not from a yield perspective, because you're going to make less than half a DEC in order to rent this thing out. But in order for us to move forward as a game economy, we need to get DEC back up to peg. And that's going to be like the one goal that we have. And so to be able to make a 17-ish% return, right? Or whatever that is, 17, 18, basically 15 to 20% return on something that we know has a very good chance of happening at least sometime in the next 6 to 12 months, right? I don't know what the next DEC catalyst is going to be because, well, the team isn't really kind of sharing like the long-term plans. We know that there's no longer going to be a mini set, so the core set is really the only thing that would for sure help us get back to peg. Maybe some elements of land, maybe the unlocking of soulbound cards, but it's like I can't really rely on that, right? Like there's so much DEC out there. But again, it just depends on your time frame, what you're willing to do, how long you're willing to hold on to these cards. If these cards can serve you in any other way, right? You can just rent them out on the market. Like I said, maybe some people use them on land, who knows? But ultimately, the opportunity is there, and it has worked in the past. Like I said, and I'll say one last time, I'm not currently taking advantage of this, but I do know that I have done in the past. I do know some folks who are, and historically it's been good to bet on DEC getting back to peg, not staying at peg, unfortunately, but getting back to peg at some point or another for you to be able to actualize the gains that you have, right? So what does this actually do? I'll close out with this. What does it actually do? Well, it would create more DEC inflation, but the cards would also disappear, right? You're burning these cards, and we slowly need to get rid of this excess supply. Are we going to be able to do that by ourselves and without multiple new players coming in? Probably not, but every and any little bit helps. So that's all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you taking advantage of this? Maybe you have another strategy that you're trying to employ with cards being below burn value. But that is all I have. I will catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.